everyone. I'm Kim, and I'm here with Shira, Zsuzsi, and Taras. Unfortunately, Lee couldn't be with us today. We are 5 friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. Parents often joke about wishing their kids came with a manual. Sometimes we wish our partners did too. But what if there was a roadmap to everyone in your life, including yourself? We are here today to discuss a fairly new phenomenon. Our very own Zsuzsi has been studying this system for 2 years and has joined forces with her teacher to bring human design to the world. So Zsuzsi, let's start with the basics. What is human design?
Hi guys. So human design is a synthesis of a lot of different kinds of knowledge. It includes astrology, the Kabbalah, genetic mapping, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, all put together in this one complete system. So the great thing about human design is that through astrology, because it includes astrology, we've all had access to the conscious parts of ourselves. When you read in-depth things about what it means to be a Libra or a Taurus, you can really identify with these things, and that's because we're conscious of these things. And what human design has brought to the world is the unconscious parts of us. So using your birth data, your date, time, and place of birth, there's a map that is created, and my teacher reads these maps. So human design starts with a reading, right? And through your reading, you are given a strategy and an authority by which to navigate your life. It's a decision-making tool, which then can help you meet less resistance once you start following it. But it's really an experiment, right? Like, we're not here to tell you that this is going to work for you. It's for you to experiment with. And I say that I've been in my experiment for over 2 years now. I had my first reading in June of 2018, and it completely changed my life. I mean, the funny thing is that it wasn't anything that I didn't already know about myself. But what was amazing was that it gave such specific language to things that I've been feeling and thinking my whole life, but never really had a way to communicate outwards. And that's what this is really all about. It's about communication. At its core, this is a way for mothers to raise their babies because it gives them tools in which to communicate with very young children. But Kim, you yourself have had a reading and can share plenty of things about how this has really helped you in your life. So that's what it's really all about. I don't necessarily want to get into the science of it all and dig too deep. I just really want to talk about what it's done for me in my life. My communication with my mother has improved significantly. I mean, we always thought we had a great relationship, and now it's just on this whole other level of respect and care, and it's just next level. So you guys have all had little tastes of this. Kim, I know you've had the most. So
I think it would be really good for us in the audience to maybe, Kim, if you could give us a little bit about, you know, your introduction to it and a couple of ways that it's helped you, you know, forgetting about the science for a second, but some of the insights that you've had from it.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a lot of questions for Zsuzsi too about how it's changed her life.
Sure.
So you know, Zsuzsi introduced me to it a while back, I think over a year now, and I had a reading, and it was exactly what Zsuzsi just said. It was like Stephen, her teacher, was telling me things about myself things I knew deep down on some level, but again, putting a different language to it that just made me understand it more. So one thing to get into the specifics so people can understand, one thing that's definitely been very life-changing for me is I've always been the type of person to, if someone asks me to whatever, go out to dinner, have a meeting, go on vacation, like whatever it is. If someone asks me to do something, to plan something, it always brought me tremendous anxiety because my brain always like wants to react now. It wants to say yes or no now because, I'm busy. I always have a lot of things on my plate. So it just is almost like I want to get it over with. I want to just be able to give that person an answer, write it on my calendar, and then be done with it. And something that I learned in my reading was that I have an emotional wave, which means that I'm best served never to say yes or no in the moment and to let those answers come to me naturally over time. So I have this wave, information gets thrown in it, and it has to be processed to where if I give it enough time, my gut will just tell me like, yes, you want to do that, or no, you don't want to do that. And it'll be so strong that I'll just know, but only over time. And I've never done that in my whole life. And no wonder why I've suffered from anxiety my whole life when it comes to my calendar, which is always full. Yes, Taris.
So, and I don't know if I know this or not, but before you knew this information, you always, like if I was like, Kim, want to go to the beach tomorrow at like 9 a.m., you'd be like, yes.
I would flip my calendar open, see if I could do it. If it was that short of notice, I probably could not do it because I always have stuff on my calendar. Like I'm a planner.
What if you had nothing on your calendar and it was like spur of the moment and you saw you had an extra like 2-3 hours in the morning?
I don't operate well spontaneously. That's something I learned about myself. I don't operate well doing spontaneous things. Okay. I'd like to be more spontaneous, but I've come to accept about myself that I don't, it gives me anxiety. Because of this wave, it's like I need time to process what's coming up, whether it be 3 months from now or a year from now. It gives me time to just, I guess, process it, right, Zsuzsi? Is that the best way of saying it?
Well, we use the term emotional clarity. Sometimes, because this is a decision-making tool, right? It's about responding when somebody's asking you something. So the idea that you don't know in that moment if that thing is right for you because the wave is consistently going up and down, right? It never stops. So wherever your wave is at the moment is not where it's going to be the day after or the day after that or the day after that. So what you're trying to get to is sort of an equilibrium. And sometimes the decision will really just make itself if you give it enough time, right? Like either that day will come and go so you can't go back and do that thing, or it becomes very clear that that is something that you want to do and then you're moved towards it in a way.
Right. I think you also need to sort of, I'm imagining that you have to delineate between want to go to the beach versus career choices or opportunities that come to you that are like a little bit more significant. I'm thinking that's where the tool really.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is it an immediate, simple action in a day? Like, things that come across our day every single day, like little itty bitty things, or is it like, a solid life-changing, question that you have to sit on? I mean,
I can tell you, it's definitely both. It's everything. And I wish I could think of like a million examples off the top of my head right now, but it's decisions that my husband and I make together. My husband has a wave too. So I really, really see with him, if I throw something out there, he's different than me. He doesn't feel he needs to reply now because he wants to get it over with. He just gets frustrated. He gets flustered. I see it. He just loses his speech. Like he's just like he just gets like annoyed, and you could just see the anxiety because he's just like, I don't know what to do with that information. Where so we have this thing now, and Zsuzsi totally loves this. Like literally every day in our house, one of us will be like, hey, I want to throw something in your wave, babe. But the key is letting it ride the wave, which a lot of times we'll ask each other something and we don't allow it to ride the wave. He'll say, I want to throw something in your wave. but then we'll have a conversation about it. It's like, no, just put it there and walk away. But
this is actually a great point, because you guys share this, and it's a very significant thing that you share in your relationship, so you're able to relate on that level. But like, there might be somebody watching or listening right now who can't relate to that at all. And that is actually what the system is all about. Like, I can't relate to your wave. I can just respect it, because I know truth in the now. I can be like, spare of the moment is actually better for me. It's more uncomfortable to be like, yeah, I can't think 2 weeks in advance. Like, if it's tomorrow, I can definitely get on board with that. But like, things in the distant future just they're not real to me. So for me, it's very much about spare of the moment plans, like even day of. I love day of plans. Those are the most fun.
So how do you plan for something, Zsuzsi? Like a show, or, you know, a conference, or like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month?
Well, you know, calendars are great things, but really what it comes down to is like, of course, because that's how life works, I've been able, or I can adjust to those things. And it's not like I've actually had difficulty with this in my life. I feel like people who find out that they're emotionally defined are the ones who really benefit, in the sense that it gives them that permission to push things off. Can I let you know tomorrow? Can I sleep on it? I'll get back to you next week. They're very like small adjustments, and what we're talking about is so mundane in a sense, but so life-changing. Tiny little adjustments in communication are really can make the difference between being super frustrated with your partner or your child or your coworker or your parent. And, you know, we're not even talking about, you know, there's 4 different types in human design, and all 4 types operate very differently. So the world is broken up into generators, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. And these 4 types are really what we stick with in the beginning. You can go as deep as you could ever even imagine with human design. It gets so nuanced and so detailed. But if you stick with like who's emotional and who's not, and who's a generator and who's a manifestor and who's a projector and who's a reflector, like those things can change your life so significantly with something so minute in your way of operating.
Zsuzsi, I wanted to ask you, I just wanted to ask you, because first of all, I love the when you know better, you do better, right? So even just making these small adjustments is so important. So I love the wave example, or we all love the wave example. What are some of the other things that human design can bring to our attention?
Well, that's a great question, Shira. So each type that I just described.
Give it to us again.
So we have generators, that's 70% of the population. So Kim, Taris, and I are all generators. Shira, you're a manifestor. You're 9% of the population. Then we have projectors, which is about 20%. And then a very rare type is a reflector. So the idea is that each type has a strategy that is given to you, which is how you best move through the world, moving with less resistance, basically. So for generators, the strategy is to respond. Now, most people, when they hear this for the first time, have a really hard time with this, because we're all taught to be like you, Shira. We're all taught to go out there and make our lives happen and initiate. And a lot of the times we meet resistance when doing so. But generators are here to respond to life as it shows up for us. And what people sometimes hear when they hear that for the first time is that we're here to just like wait around and, hope that something shows up for us. Well, responding is like much more nuanced than that. You respond to life, you respond to having to wake up in the morning, you respond to being hungry, you respond to somebody asking you a question. And the more that you can tap into what you're moved towards, the more satisfaction you will potentially experience as a generator. And Shira, you're here to initiate, so you're here to inform people what you're going to do, because what you do has a lot of impact. So when you inform people, they sort of get out of your way so that you can manifest.
I wish.
Right? See, that's the whole point, is that human design is for you. When you know these things about yourself, you can move through the world and really understand that it's not how the world works, but you can adjust to it. It's not for everybody else to adjust to you. Although Kim has a really amazing story of telling the people in her life, listen, I have a wave that I have just been alerted to. And from now on, I will be riding that wave when you ask for a decision. So spare of the moment plans is not going to work for me. And she told me, even though, she's made that very clear to the people in her life, they don't always let that happen. But it's funny because she gets to say, remember the wave.
Yeah.
Remember.
It's good.
I also find that, the wave is just one thing I learned about myself. I'm not going to get into the whole thing with eating. We can do that another episode. But even like I learned that I'm best to touch food with my physically touch it. And again, I won't get into the science of it, but for me with touch, and the wave and all these other things I learned, it's a matter of putting it into practice, just like all the work we do, right? And that's still the hard part for me, is remembering to do that. Even this week, I had decisions to make that I was like, my brain just wants to answer it. It wants to get it over with. It wants to, and it's the remembering, the constant reminding and refreshing, which is all of the work, right, ladies? It's like just, it's a never ending journey.
Well, and that's why we called our company Genetic Yoga, because genetic, obviously the way that you're made up, and yoga being a practice, it's the practice of being you, which sounds so silly in a way, because, aren't you practicing being you all the time? It's like, well, nobody really told you who you were when you were born, and there's nothing wrong or bad about that. Your parents probably said, well, you didn't come with a manual.
Right.
Here it is.
Yeah. And Zsuzsi, this is to get tools to help trust who you are, right? Because it's the whole trusting part that I find I struggle with. I'm sure a lot of people struggle with. It's really wonderful. Say now I know about my wave, right? That's one good example. I can start to practice that. And I trust that because that feels good. So it's definitely like tools to help trust how you operate best in the world, and then being able to like express that to others, so that it's almost like teaching people how to treat you almost.
Yeah.
Well, what human design says is that our minds are not the ones that are here to make decisions for us. We've always been taught that what we think is the decision-making tool. But what human design says is actually, no, we all have a unique way of making a decision, a strategy, and an inner authority, because your mind is not the one that's here to be the authority in your life. It's who you are. And like you were expressing, you're not here to make decision based on what you think, but how you feel. And that's like a revelation beyond revelations for a lot of people. I'm here to go or and that's it. That's like what I'm pulled towards. That's that's the biggest difference between this and so many other things, is that we're saying that you can't think your way through life. It's about moving towards things as generators. It's about what you want to do, Shira. For a lot of people, it's the whole point of life is to enjoy it. And your mind can go could, should, would all day long.
Oh yeah, your mind is dangerous. Let's just
It is. And so the idea is that you meeting less resistance through making decisions from your strategy and authority can help you live a life of more ease and comfort and joy. And that's what this is all about. We're supposed to be having fun. Your life is supposed to be an entertaining movie. Just be a passenger in a vehicle and watch it unfold and wake up every morning being like, what's gonna happen today?
I just want to say one more thing: more ease, less dis-ease or disease, right? I love that. When I found out disease, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Zsuzsi, is there anything that you'd like to leave, anyone watching off with about human design?
I mean, the funny thing is that I talk about human design all day, every day. So I could keep talking about this for like 12 more hours, which I actually will, even after this call. But I just want to say, there is a lot of uncertainty in the world that people are experiencing. And what I find is that people are so relieved after they have a reading with human design. They just feel so much permission that they're not crazy, that they're not wrong, that this is exactly how they've always wanted to be treated or wanted to live their lives. And it begins this amazing journey of really digging into who you are, and what better time than now.
Yeah.
Where can, if people are interested in learning more or getting a reading, will you let them know where they could go?
Absolutely. So we'll put geneticyoga.com in the show notes, and there are some other resources that I would love to share with everybody, because there's a lot of information about this out there. It's just not a lot of people know about it yet. It's a fairly recent system that's come out. So there's plenty of free information online, but obviously I'm very much about people getting readings and really starting their process.
Yeah. Thank you, Zsuzsi. Ladies, I think that's a great place to wrap it up right there. If this conversation intrigued you and you want to find out more about this unique modality, the links to genetic yoga will definitely be in the show notes below. And also, if you love our conversations, please click like and subscribe to our channel. Tell a friend, spread the word. Please also let us know if you have any comments or questions, or if there's a topic that you would like to request. Okay, we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.